I have found SCA tremendously liberating. My higher power, my other people in the program, they are my teachers. Other sex addicts are my teachers. The literature, the tools, specifically the steps, the slogans have been of terrific value for me. Easy does it, one day at a time. To some extent, let go, let God. Act as if was important for me on many occasions. But for the grace of God, when I saw people who I previously would have put down, and I still have judgments. Sponsorship, the idea that higher power speaks to me through other people. All of these are not just verbiage that I'm using. I found that they're effective and true and work, and I'm a pragmatist. What have I learned about myself? Is that your question? I'm not trying to say this. I've learned to have a lot of nice qualities. I see how often I used to put myself down in the past. And I do it far less frequently. And I've been learning to be gentle with myself. Feelings aren't facts. This too shall pass, a wonderful story. The idea that the steps work us. And I've done 4-step inventories, and I learned from one person how to do specific issues, 4-step inventories, on specific problem, relationship. On the 10-step, making amends that day, clearing up the debris from the day, whether it's done that day or the next day. Acknowledging my role. I used to live a life that was filled with fears. Fears of what I said, what I did. And I recently had that, and that happens far less frequently. And I have tools now with which to handle them, a phone call, a meeting where I talk about it, I vent it. I was sure some 3-4 weeks ago that I had said things to people that would cause them to act out, that I encouraged one person to be more sexually free. And I was talking with another person about drugs and my sleeping pills, and I was mentioning them by names, by naming them. And he said, Hal, stop, I'm a drug addict, I can't hear this. And I was just afraid that he was going to act out as a result of what it was that I had said to him. And I got home, called somebody from program, actually somebody I met in Coda, very wise. He said, wait a moment, if that person acts out as a result of what you said, that person has then made you his higher power. He has his own higher power. Oh, I was so comforted by that I actually forgot about it for the rest of the week. And when I saw him the following week at the same meeting, he came over, gave me a great big hug and kiss. He probably hadn't thought about it a second time. And if I hadn't gotten that feedback, or if I hadn't been, it's just that I'm so powerful that I can have another person act out based upon something that I said. That was illuminating. 3.5 years later, that person meant that how often I've made other people my higher power. Putting them on pedestals, being terrified of what I might say to incur their displeasure, or what I didn't say that would incur their approval. Yes, I've learned that I can't do it myself. We can do it together. And the paradox is I've learned to be more self-reliant. And I acknowledge the paradoxes and the dualities. So I've learned that there's another way of living a life. And the program has brought that about for me through my participation in the program. In Australia, they say never take credit for your own recovery. I'm not going to explain that, I think it's self-evident. And never take credit for anybody else's recovery. And I was disappointed when I read that, heard that. And I spoke with somebody in New York in the program. He said, well, he sees it somewhat differently. He sees it as a partnership. So I did the legwork. I went to meetings. I made the phone calls. I got a sponsor. Got some sponsees. I was more successful with the sponsors than I've had on my second sponsor. The first lasted a year and a half. He gave me great gifts, even though he was half my age. I've lost myself. Where was I? Before that, partnership. I read the Quakers have a saying, pray with your feet. I like that. Before that, I was very much taken with walk the walk as well as talk the talk. It's easy to talk the talk, but taking the action and letting go of the outcome, that's a wonderful slogan. Taking the action, letting go of the outcome. Well, I took some major actions during my first year in program, meaning the first year in recovery. One action I had delayed taking for 12 years, another I had delayed taking for several years. I was terrified of taking either action. And both I was able to do following program principles. Break the action into small, manageable steps. Don't jump into the future. Do them both, each individually, one step at a time. And when you've completed everything that you needed to do, let go of the outcome. And boy, did I get positive results both times. So I've learned a lot in the program. I use the word program generically.
That's fine. I'm going to turn the light on. It's okay with you. Well, now we're going to get into a little more challenging stuff.
No, not for very long.
Relationships with people. Is there any that you feel that you're in a bad situation with right now?
I am taken aback at how much love there is in my life. From longtime friends and people I've known only the last year and 2 and 3. I don't see any unfulfilled relationships. I had a reconciliation with a sister with whom I had difficulties. I'm glad that that happened.
That was one of my concerns. That's good. So you feel at peace in your relationships?
My friends have been very, very supportive of me, knowing what it is that I'm planning.
And I'm sure that some more so and some less so.
Yes.
To the extent that they're able to speak.
Yes.
So, the name Harry.
I was Harold in the Army. I was in the Army for 2 years. I wasn't about ready to declare that I was a homosexual. And when I was after basic training, I was given an assignment at another base, and there was a Harry who was in the office where I worked, and everybody started calling me Harry just very naturally. So I became Harry. And I was Harry from 1954 until 1972, 73, when some of us rented a house at Fire Island for the summer. And I didn't like the name Harry. I thought it was a nebbish name that had no dynamism. So I changed my name to Hal. And it took some months for people who knew me well to fall into place. And every now and then I still meet somebody who will say, "Hi, Harry." And I'll say, "That person knew me before 1973.
I met one the other day, well, several months ago.
Okay.
The Barnes and Noble.
Right. Right. Pizza.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And you spent many years as a school teacher, but you are not putting in your obituary?
I'm not putting in my obituary, as I don't consider it a significant aspect of my life. It paid the bills, gave me a pension, summer vacations, and a lot of aggravation, a lot of tension. Had some good years, had some bad years. I helped a lot of students, and I was nasty and cruel to others. Basically, I did my best to be kind. Times I would erupt in a rage and say things that I don't regret. Basically, I was a decent person. Yes, I was.
No, I just heard the word regret, so I'll ask you again. Are there any regrets?
No, I do and I don't. I mean, I like to say I have no regrets about the past. I couldn't have lived my life any differently from the way that I lived it. I wouldn't have been who I am. And yet, this morning, or yesterday morning, doesn't really matter. I was talking with somebody from the program who was talking about the difficulties he used to experience before he started program and how effortless he handles them now. And I started to cry because I realized how true that is for me. And gee, but that's who I was. I couldn't have been anybody else. Regrets? I regret that I'm not going to be around another 10 or 20 years to enjoy the life which really became a wonderful life for me. I had the best of two cities, in New York and Sydney, wonderful friends in both, a new apartment, more than enough money for my lifestyle to live a really enjoyable life. Had no money problems. And then, out of the blue, there was a cancer diagnosis. And at first, it was a misdiagnosis based on a botched biopsy and an ineffectual biopsy report, which indicated one kind of cancer. At any rate, my cancer is kidney cancer. It's one of those cancers that's very difficult to treat, whose 5-year survival rate is 1 to 2%, with the emphasis on 1%. And who knows what quality of life those people who are alive for the 5 years are having. I was on treatment, interferon. And the side effects were devastating, and I hadn't as yet taken the full dosage because the side effects were so difficult. So I decided to stop treatment and let the disease play out. That was over a month ago, close to a month and a half ago. And the esteemed oncologist, bright, well-informed, said, well, you have about 6 months, maybe a year and a half, maybe 4 months. My best estimate is about 6 months. And if you had stayed on the interferon, you had about a year. So it was is it called the Hobson's choice? So I made the choice that was best for me.